extra counters as registration deadline approaches. PNB declares income distribution of a 5.25 cent for ASB2. Salam Malaysia Madani, I'm Shuhaida Arifin and you're watching Malaysia Tonight. The Department of Statistics Malaysia DOSM has added 300 physical counters throughout the country to facilitate registration in the Central Database Hub Padu system before the 31st March deadline. Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzim Mahidin said the department decided to add to the existing 6,000 Padu registration counters as they expect a last-minute rush by people to sign up.
Di sini juga ingin saya memaklumkan untuk mengelakkan ketidakketentuan pada hari terakhir 31 Mac hari Ahad 31 Mac kita ingin menyatakan untuk fizikal kita akan menyatakan sehingga pukul 5 kita mungkin akan tidak menerima mengeluarkan nombor lagi lah sebab kita tahu kalau kita tidak ada peraturan begitu masih akan ada datang di saat akhir Namun kaunter ataupun pendaftaran secara atas talian akan berterusan sampai ke tengah malam 11.59.
Speaking after inspecting operations at the Padu counter at the Melaka Urban Transformation Centre UTC today, he said the older generation was more comfortable with registering at counters than doing it online. As of today, 8.79 million Malaysians have signed up with Padu, and based on the surge in registration for the past week, the target of 50% registration rate can be achieved by 31st March. Now, on a related note, the Economy Ministry will discuss with Sarawak its concern over the Central Database Hub Padu next week. Sarawak Premier Tan Sri Abang Johari Abang Openg said the meeting in Kuching will involve Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli. He said the Sarawak government welcomed Rafizi's willingness to understand a postponement of the Padu registration in Sarawak.
Those who are in that category, they must be given the assistance. Tapi sekarang dah minta dari seluruh, nanti ada kebimbangan sikit.
Met after the state-level Nuzul Al-Quran event in Kota Samarahan, Tan Sri Abang Johari wanted an explanation from the perspective of information privacy. As if too much is disclosed that is unrelated to financial positions, it is unreasonable to disclose such details. He was referring to the Personal Data Protection Act 2010 before deciding to suspend Padu registration. He said despite suspending Padu registration, the Sarawak government supported the federal government's objective to target subsidies. Highway users in private cars will get to enjoy toll-free travel for 2 days in conjunction with the Hari Raya Aidilfitri celebrations. Works Minister Datuk Seri Alexander Nantalinggi said the government, through a cabinet meeting on 7th February, had agreed to provide toll exemptions for 2 days exclusively to Class 1 vehicles on 8th and 9th April. In a statement released today, Datuk Seri Alexander said the toll exemptions will be granted at all toll plazas except at border toll plazas, namely the Sultan Iskandar Building Toll Plaza and the Tanjung Kupang Toll Plaza in Johor. It will be implemented from 12:01 a.m. on 8th April and will end at 11:59 on 9th April with an estimated compensation cost of 37.6 million ringgit allocated by the government. Datuk Seri Alexander said this toll exemption by the government is a gesture of concern and a shared joy with all Malaysians. Due to this initiative, the number of vehicles on highways also expected to increase. The Paddy and Rice Regulatory Authority KPB clarified that the authority to freeze permits for interstate paddy movement lies under the control of Paddy and Rice Act 1994, Act 522, through the functions of the KPB Director General. As such, KPB said the statement made by Terengganu government regarding the directive to freeze permits for paddy transfers is deemed inaccurate and misleading. According to a statement by KPB effective 20th June last year, the Agriculture and Food Security Ministry has suspended all applications for permits to transfer paddy to other states. KPB explained that the move is an intervention by the ministry to address local rice supply issues, taking into account the welfare of farmers. It added that the directive to freeze applications for paddy movement remains in effect to date. However, in the event of a surplus in a state and the necessity to sell paddy across state borders, applications can be submitted to the State KPB office for consideration and approval by the KPB Director General. On 26 March, Terengganu Executive Council member Dr. Azman Ibrahim was reported as saying that the state government had frozen permits for transferring paddy out of the state. He said the directive is among the control mechanisms to prevent locally produced rice from being sold to other states. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim has called on Muslims to optimise opportunities available during Ramadan to analyse and interpret the Quran. He said Muslims are encouraged to read the Quran more during Ramadan, adding that it should not stop at that. In a post on Facebook in conjunction with today's Nuzul Quran celebration, he said, the Holy Book is loaded with moral and universal humanity messages. As such, he said, while reading, reciting and memorizing the Quran carry abundant rewards, it is important to also take the time to reflect on the words of Allah through tadabbur or understanding the meaning and contemplating relevance to life of the Quran. The Premier noted that understanding the message of the Quran should be emphasized more because the Quran lives, speaks and serves as a guide to life and beyond. He added teachings that emanate from the words of Allah are not specifically intended for believers, but rather it is guidance for all mankind. The Tengku Mahkota of Pahang, Tengku Hassan Al-Ibrahim Alam Shah Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah today contributed 160 sets of waiting chairs to Tengku Ampuan Afzan Hospital HTAA in Kuantan. Tengku Hassan Al said he is contributing the chairs to the hospital, the place where he was born.
Saya juga ingin beri nasihat kepada semua warga-warga hospital dan kepada pihak-pihak kerajaan, tolonglah jaga hospital ini sebaik-baiknya, tolong jaga orang sakit-sakit yang betul, khususnya kepada makna-makna doktor-doktor, tolonglah berikhlas-ikhlaslah apabila buat kerja awak, punya tanggungjawab semua. Itu ingatan saya nak beri kepada semua. Dan kalau ada apa-apa masalah hospital, tolonglah report kepada kerajaan.
Tengku Hassanal at the ceremony today added HTAA is very close to his heart, as it is where he receives treatment since he was a child, and the hospital staff took good care of him and his family. Coming up next, 1.6 million ringgit in sales expected at Madani Raya program. Permodalan Nasional Berhad PNB Wholly Owned Unit Trust Management Company Amanah Saham Nasional Berhad ASNB has declared an income distribution of 5.25 cent per unit for Amanah Saham Bumiputra 2 ASB2 for the financial year ending 31st March 2024. The total payout amounts to 670 million ringgit and will benefit 552,297 ASB2 unit holders. In a release statement today, the fund managers also declared a 4.75 cent per unit income distribution worth 1.33 billion ringgit for Amanah Saham Malaysia ASM for the financial year ending 31st March 2024, benefiting 699,807 unit holders. According to PNB, ASB2 recorded a net released income of 659.95 million ringgit as of 25th March, while ASM recorded 1.21 1.42 billion ringgit net realised income. Both funds have sourced their earnings from realised gains and dividend income from both locally and globally equity investments amid a volatile backdrop of elevated inflation and growing economic downturn concerns. The funds are also reaping the rewards of diversification into other asset classes such as real estate and private investment, with a greater emphasis on fixed income, which provides stable recurring income to the fund. The distribution declared by these funds will be automatically reinvested into unit holders' accounts on 1st April. The 33-day 2024 Madani Raya Sales Program (PJMR) is expected to record sales of 1.6 million ringgit. Minister of Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives, Dato' Iwan Benedict, said the program offers sales and items for Aidilfitri preparations and daily necessities at a discount rate of up to 20%. The program organised by the ministry is being held from 8th March to 9 April. Dato' Iwan said during the first 2 weeks of the sales, the PJMR recorded sales of 415,800 ringgit with 44,212 visitors. Met after a walkabout at the PJMR 2024 at Dataran Tanjung Syawal, Precinct 3, he expressed hope that with 2 more weeks to go, sales at the 60 booths will continue to increase. The PJMR, held in conjunction with the Putra Ramadan Festival 2024, aimed to help ease the burden of the people who are affected by the rising cost of living. According to Dato' Iwan, the program involved the participation of 28 entrepreneurs and 13 cooperatives. He said PJMR 2024 not only saves people's spending on Aidilfitri preparations, but also empowers and promotes the businesses of entrepreneurs and cooperatives. Pulau Pinang will intensify efforts to produce human capital, especially those with science, technology, engineering and mathematics STEM education from primary and secondary school levels. Chief Minister Chow Kon Yeow said this was important as Malaysia is now the focus of the world as a location for technology investment. He said this was also in line with the efforts carried out by the Pulau Pinang Science Cluster in approaching schools through various STEM programs. The issue of STEM human capital was also raised at the 31st Northern Corridor Implementation Authority (NCIA) meeting chaired by Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim.
Kerajaan, pihak akademia, industri penting untuk sama-sama mencongkil bakat di kalangan rakyat, mewujudkan modal insan yang sesuai dan dapat memenuhi kehendak industri dan memandangkan Malaysia sekarang menjadi tumpuan dunia sebagai lokasi pelaburan teknologi, maka usaha ini perlu dipertingkatkan lagi.
He said this to reporters after attending the Journey to First Tech Challenge World Championship program at the Jabil Penang Plant 1 in Bayan Lepas today. Yesterday, Datuk Seri Anwar said the government aims for NCER to record 367.8 billion ringgit in realised investments by 2030 through 3 new focus areas, namely advanced services, high-value manufacturing and modern agriculture. Meanwhile, Chow announced a contribution of 10,000 ringgit to Sekolah Menengah Kebangsaan SMK Permatang Pasir, which will represent Malaysia at the First Tech Challenge FTC robotic competition scheduled on 17th to 24th April in Houston, Texas, United States. The Malaysia Digital Economy Corporation (MDEC) will introduce a new tax incentive for Malaysia Digital MD status companies and existing Multimedia Super Corridor MSC status companies. MDEC Chief Executive Officer Mazir Aziz said the tax incentive to be announced in May will be for digital initiatives in intellectual property and non-intellectual property, and also in the form of investment tax allowance incentives. In a statement today on MDAC's aspiration for 2024, Mahathir said these incentives will be jointly announced with the Ministry of Digital, the Finance Minister and the Investment, Trade and Industry Ministry. On the Malaysia Digital Catalytic Program's Pemangkin MD National E-Invoicing Initiative, he said it aims to empower businesses of all sizes to embrace digitalization and streamline financial processes, and also align with the upcoming National Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Digitalization Roadmap. Mahathir added that MDAC will spearhead efforts to promote artificial intelligence adoption in the country and is committed to advancing Malaysia towards becoming a global digital powerhouse, driving innovation and positioning the country as the preferred digital hub of ASEAN. The Malaysia Chamber of Commerce Malaysia DPMM has announced today that Petronas green energy arm Gentari Sdn Bhd has agreed to create a consortium consisting of solar industry players which are qualified to be awarded contracts in the future. Its president Nur Shahrin Hamidun said the decision was agreed upon during a meeting held between DPMM and Gentari yesterday at the company's management office. Explaining further through a release statement today, Nur Shahrin said DPMM also insisted that a Bumiputra development program be established at Petronas so that Bumiputra companies in various fields in the oil and gas industries are given priority in the distribution of contracts at Petronas in the future. He added DPMM is ready to be a link between Bumiputra industry players and Petronas. He said it has been proven that many Bumiputra companies are qualified and have the merit but are marginalized from being given the opportunity to compete equally with non-Bumiputra companies. Nur Shahrin also praised the quick action of the Gentari management in calling the DPMM, the Malay Economic Action Council and industry players to resolve the issue. The Malaysia External Trade Development Corporation (MATRADE) is optimistic about achieving the government's target of more than 1.7 trillion ringgit in total exports by 2025. Its chairman Datuk Seri Riza American said the target was determined after MATRADE managed to reach more than 1 trillion ringgit in total exports for 3 consecutive years. Elaborating further on the matter, Datuk Seri Riza American said the government has set a new target of 1.7 trillion ringgit by the end of 2025 and he is confident that the target will be achieved. He said the number of exports also increased by almost 8% at the beginning of this year and both January and February saw exports of 4%. Datuk Seri Riza American further noted that MATRADE recorded total exports of 1.5 trillion ringgit in 2022 and 1.46 trillion ringgit last year, despite facing global economic challenges. The US Central Bank should either scale back or delay its interest rate cuts in response to disappointing inflation data. Senior Federal Reserve official Christopher Wallace said it is appropriate to reduce the overall number of rate cuts or push them further into the future in response to the recent data. After swiftly hiking interest rates and then holding them at 23-year high to tackle surging inflation, the FED recently pivoted to debating when to cut them. At its most recent rate decision, policymakers reinforced their prediction of 3 interest rate cuts this year, in spite of a recent monthly uptick in inflation, while leaving the FED's key lending rate unchanged. As inflation has crept higher, US growth has remained robust and the labour market remains strong, indicating that the overall economy is still in a pretty good shape. Wallace said the economic output and the labour market are showing continued strength, while progress in reducing inflation has slowed. Because of these signs, Wallace said he sees no rush in taking steps off the beginning to ease monetary policy. Britain's economy entered a shallow recession last year, leaving Prime Minister Rishi Sunak with a challenge to reassure voters that the economy is safe with him before an election expected later this year. The Office for National Statistics said gross domestic product shrank by 0.1% in the third quarter and by 0.3% in the fourth, unchanged from preliminary estimates. The figures will be disappointing for Sunak, who has been accused by the opposition Labour Party far ahead in opinion polls of overseeing Rishi's recession. Britain's economy has shown signs of a stronger footing, with monthly GDP growth of 0.2% in January and unofficial surveys suggesting growth continued in February and March. Tax cuts announced by Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt and expectations of interest rate cuts are likely to help the economy this year. However, Britain remains one of the slowest countries to recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Still ahead, a Singapore Port Authority to investigate Baltimore Bridge incident.
Malaysia antara 10 negara dengan kadar transplantasi terendah di dunia pada tahun 2021. Kini, anda boleh mendaftarkan diri sebagai penderma organ melalui MySejahtera. Jom daftar dan kemas kini sebagai pengikrar derma organ. Satu ikrar, sejuta harapan. Untuk maklumat lanjut, layari www.dermaorgan.gov.my. The Maritime and Port Authority of Singapore MPA will be conducting an investigation to determine whether there have been any infringement of relevant statutory requirements under the Merchant Shipping Act 1995 following the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. MPA in a statement said the investigation will be conducted as part of its flag state obligations on Delhi, the container vessel which struck a pillar of the decades-old bridge. MPA said that as the Singapore Flag Administration takes its responsibilities for the safety of vessels registered under its flag very seriously. The agency said it is also working with the ship management company, Synergy Marine Private Limited, to facilitate information exchanging to support US Coast Guard in its investigation. MPA said it would also continue to work with the ship management company to ensure that the welfare of the Dali's crew is taken care of throughout the incident and that the company fully cooperates with the relevant local authorities. Meanwhile, the agency said Singapore's Transport Safety Investigation Bureau, TSIB, will be conducting an independent marine safety investigation to identify lessons to prevent future marine casualties and incidents. Jakrapal Penkar, a former Red Shirt leader who returned to Bangkok today after living in self-imposed exile abroad for 15 years, has been released on bail. After arriving at Suvarnabhumi International Airport, he was escorted to the Crime Suppression Division CSD HQ, where he surrendered to the 1997 arrest warrants relating to an accusation of criminal association and possession of a firearm, which he has denied. His elder sister and his secretary were there and posted bail for him. Police arrested Jakrapal as he arrived at Suvarnabhumi Airport and brought him to the CSD for questioning regarding arrest warrants issued by the Criminal Court on 7th December 2017. The charges include involvement in running an illegal secret organisation and illegally possessing firearms and explosive, allegedly found linked to numerous instances of political unrest in 2014. Jakrapal held positions as Minister attached to the Prime Minister's office under the Samak Sundravech administration in 2008, as well as government spokesperson under the Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatра's government from 2003 to 2005. He also served as television station manager and host, as well as renowned international news analysts. Sports, crucial for double pairs to steal points against Denmark. Stay with us. The
doubles pairs are expected to play a pivotal role in Malaysia's match against European giants Denmark in Group D of the 2024 Thomas Cup Finals in Chengdu, China from 28 April to 5th of May. Academy Badminton Malaysia ABM Coaching Director Rasmi said it is important for Malaysia to steal points in the doubles. This is crucial as 2016 champions Denmark are likely to parade world number 1 Victor Xelsen and 2024 Malaysian Open champion Anders Antonsen in the first two singles.
Met recently, he said in doubles, top pair Aaron Sowick ranked 5th and Kim Astrup Anders Skarp Rasmussen, world number 4, are equally strong and know each other's game well. He added the doubles need to pick up points, but it all depends on strategy on match day. At the same time, Rexy said Malaysia should also be wary of the threat posed by Hong Kong, as they have two good single players, namely Lee Chuk-Yew, world number 14, and Angus Ng Kalong, number 26. He stressed that Malaysia are not bad in singles too if Ziyong can regain full fitness. Lately, Lee Zijia has beaten Kalong in their last two meetings, Rexy said, adding that there's also a good choice for third singles between Leong Junhao and Justin Ho and Eugene Uwe. Ziyong, the country's number 2 singles, is still recovering from lower back surgery. African champions Algeria are the 4th team in the Group D.
World number 3 Jannik Sinner will face defending champion Daniil Medvedev in the semi-finals of the Miami Open, a rematch of last year's final after they both enjoyed victories on Wednesday. Sinner moved into the last 4 in emphatic style, beating Czech Tomas Machac 6-4, 6-2 before Medvedev overcame a stern test against Chilean Nicolas Jarry before emerging with a 6-2, 7-6 win.
Italian Sinner, who won his first Grand Slam title at the Australian Open this year, will play in his 4th semi of the season after dealing with lively Machac in 91 minutes. Sinner broke the opening game serve from the Czech, but Machac responded immediately to make it 1-all. The crowd were on their feet to appreciate some brilliant defensive play from Sinner, who eventually took charge of the set, breaking to go 4-3 up and then closing out. The second set was more straightforward, with Sinner breaking in the third game and never looking back. Despite the comfortable margin of the win, Sinner said Machac deserved praise for his energetic and aggressive performance. The 22-year-old will next face defending champion Daniil Medvedev.
Now, in the women's draw, American Danielle Collins powered into the semi-finals of the WTA Miami Open with an emphatic 6-3, 6-2 win over Frances Caroline Garcia on Wednesday. Garcia went into the match on the back of an upset win over third-seeded American Coco Gauff, but was unable to get a foothold against the Floridian.
Collins, who announced in January that she would retire from professional tennis at the end of the season, won 89.7% of her first serve points against Garcia, never faced a break point and converted 3 of her 8 break point chances. Collins broke to go 5-3 up in the first set and then held serve for the set. Then in the second set, broke in the third game and never looked back as she wrapped up the win in 1 hour and 19 minutes. Collins reached the semi-finals of Miami 6 years ago as a qualifier, and at 53rd is the lowest ranked semi-finals in the tournament. She intends to retire at the end of the year, but while she agreed she had a relaxed look to her play, she rejected the idea that it was a result of her impending departure from the sport. Up next for the 30-year-old Collins will be Russia 14 seed Ekaterina Alexandrova.
Alright, so that's it from us this evening. In our top story, 300 extra counters as registration deadline approaches. From river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching.